October is finally here, and you can definitely feel that spooky season energy starting to build. Every year, we decorate our homes with ghosts and ghouls. But what if the local stories that inspired it all were a little more real than we thought? Today, we're making this absolutely dramatic Gothic Halloween wreath. And while we do it, I'm going to tell you the real, chilling legends of the haunted barracks and the abandoned hospital of Fort Chaffee. From right here in my hometown, Barling, Arkansas. So grab your glue gun and let's get spooky. Okay, we're starting with black leaf garland and these golden leaves. As I'm getting this base layer on, let's dive right into why this place, my hometown haunt, has such a dark and layered history. It all begins on a day that lives in infamy. Imagine it's December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor Day. As the world is thrown into chaos, the very first soldiers are arriving right here at a brand new installation called Camp Chaffee. To understand the ghosts, you have to understand the history packed into this soil. Over the next few years, tens of thousands of young GIs would train in these barracks before being shipped off to war. But soon, the war brought a different kind of resident. From 1943 to 1946, these grounds also became a prison for 3,000 German POWs. Men who were the enemy, living and dying here, thousands of miles from their homes. They're still rumored to be marching on and shouting to this very day. And with that chilling detail, now that we've finished up the base layer, let's start adding our florals. Then, in a strange twist of history, in 1958, the barracks housed their most famous occupant. That's right, Elvis Presley himself got his iconic GI haircut right here in Building 803. But the history doesn't stop. After Elvis, these same walls would shelter over 50,000 Vietnamese refugees in 1975. Then, 25,000 Cuban refugees in the 1980s. People fleeing desperation and seeking a new life. And as recently as 2005, they housed victims of Hurricane Katrina. So with that intense energy still lingering in the old barracks, we are moving on to the main structure of our wreath. Let's get the rest of our florals secured before moving back into our story. Soldiers, prisoners, a rock and roll king, refugees, disaster victims, decades upon decades of hope, fear, and desperation, all soaked into the wood of these buildings, many of which were finally consumed in a massive fire in 2008. So when the urban explorers and ghost hunters go into the remaining barracks today and hear angry, disembodied male voices shouting, whose voice is it? Is it a young GI who never made it home? Is it a German POW still guarding his post? Or is it something else entirely? The most common theory is that it's the restless spirits of prisoners. But with a history this deep, it could be anyone. But as creepy as that is, it is nothing compared to the epicenter of all that emotion. That is, the abandoned Fort Chaffee Hospital. Moving on to the final finishing touches of our wreath, let's add this spooky skeleton head. This wasn't just some small infirmary. It was a city of medicine, opened on the exact same day as Pearl Harbor, an enormous complex of 128 buildings, with its own theater, a post exchange, even a 4-lane bowling alley, all connected by miles of long, dark hallways. Think of the sheer volume of life and death that passed through its 1,595 beds. The reports from here are the stuff of real nightmares. People claim to see the full-bodied apparition of a nurse, her 1940s uniform perfectly starched, still walking her rounds as if the last 80 years never happened. Rumor has it they still hear the distant phantom sound of a baby crying from the abandoned maternity ward. Even after a fire in 2011 completely burned down the old infirmary, they still talk about those wheelchairs moving on their own, doors slamming shut and empty wings, and the distinct, chilling feeling of being touched by unseen hands in the old operating rooms. Whether it's the residual energy of decades of trauma and death, or something more sinister, it's one of those places that people warn you to stay away from after dark. And with that final, terrifying detail, our spooky wreath is complete. I honestly have chills, because when you know the true stories, you realize you aren't just decorating for Halloween. You're remembering the thousands of souls that have passed through, leaving a little piece of their story behind. And there you have it, one incredibly spooky, Gothic Halloween wreath, packed with some seriously chilling local legends. I absolutely loved this mix of crafting and spooky storytelling. If you did too, please hit that subscribe button. It seriously helps my channel more than you know. And more importantly, let me know in the comments what kind of story I should tell next. And hey, while this particular project was a fun one, using materials I gathered myself, if you love the idea of crafting, but want to skip the hassle of hunting down all the materials, I also design and sell complete DIY craft kits over on my website. It's the perfect way to have a creative night in. You can find the link to the shop in the description below. Every purchase helps to support this channel and allows me to bring fun, free projects every week. Thank you so much for hanging out and crafting with me today. Stay creative and stay spooky.